Well, a very good evening to you and welcome to the broadcast tonight. Well, today, the 21st day of November 2024, we did witness President William Ruto's third State of the Nation address in Parliament. Well, an address that has raised questions or rather mixed reactions amongst many Kenyans, with many questioning whether what he was talking about is the reality on the ground. We shall be taking a look on that later on, but starting us off tonight with the top story is that President William Ruto has ordered the immediate cancellation of all Adani Group deals with Ketraco and JKIA. This is in light with the U.S. indictment on bribery charges. Now, during his State of the Nation address on Thursday, the head of state said the decision was attributed to credible evidence from the relevant agencies. The announcement comes on the backdrop of the indictment of Adani Group founder and Gautam Adani and 7 of his associates by the United States over a $250 million alleged bribe to Indian officials. Now, our reporter Dolly Mwirigi starts us tonight.
The much-touted Adani is now exiting the scene. President William Ruto has ordered the cancellation of Adani Airport Limited partnership for expanding Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and the Ketraco deal due to the ongoing controversies surrounding the agreement. Speaking during the State of the Nation address, the president said that if there is a clear proof or reliable information about corruption, he'll not hesitate to take decisive action accordingly.
I now direct, in furtherance of the principles enshrined in Article 10 of the Constitution on transparency and accountability, and based on new information provided by investigative agencies and partner nations, that the procuring agencies within the Ministry of Transport and the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum immediately cancel the ongoing procurement process for the JKIA expansion public-private partnership transaction, as well as
the president asked the relevant ministries and agencies to start looking for other companies that can handle the expansion of JKIA and the Ketraco, saying that these are important projects that need foreign investors.
And immediately commence the process of onboarding alternative partners, because these are important projects.
These comes hours after the Energy and Petroleum Cabinet Secretary Opiyo Wandayi revealed that Ketraco deal with Adani Energy Solution will go on despite fraud charges in the United States. Appearing before the Parliamentary Energy Committee over the controversial Ketraco Adani deal, CS Wandayi assured that the Kenyan government had thoroughly investigated Adani before moving forward with the agreement.
We had no knowledge of any other adverse matters that could have come to light, maybe now or some months or weeks earlier. And therefore, we are proceeding on the basis of the outcome of the very rigorous due diligence exercise that was undertaken by the contracting authority in line with the law.
Indian billionaire Gautam Adani has been accused of fraud in the United States. He is charged with being involved in a bribery scheme worth $250 million. The allegations state that he and his associate bribed officials in the Indian government to win contracts related to solar energy projects. Adani, who is Asia's second richest person, faces legal action over the scheme, which raised billions through fraudulent means. Dolly Mwirigi for Hope TV.
Quite an interesting decision right there. Now on matters human, or rather women's rights, President William Ruto has strongly condemned the rising cases of femicide witnessed in the recent past, noting that he will not sit back and watch women in the country being butchered. Now addressing the nation on Thursday afternoon, the head of state also guaranteed Kenyans of their freedom to express their views constitutionally. His promise to address cases of abductions and alleged disappearance coming just a day after the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights reported 74 abductions and disappearances and 1,376 cases of arbitrary arrests from June 15th to November 2024.
Amidst the growing concerns over femicide in the country, with increasing calls for the government and society at large to take action against gender-based violence, President William Ruto has, in the strongest terms possible, condemned cases of femicide in the country.
These incidents will cause the women of our nation to feel increasingly unsafe, even in their own homes. This is both tragic and unacceptable. It also complicates, in disturbing ways, the struggle by Kenyan women for inclusion, for equality, for dignity, social justice, their rights, their protection, a section of our society that has been marginalized for a long time.
Commending women leaders for their effort to champion for women's rights and inclusion, Ruto says he has laid down the necessary plans to put to sleep the rising cases of femicide in the country.
I have held discussions with other leaders in government, and I have tasked the Deputy President to reach out and facilitate collaborative, broad-based and multi-sectoral deliberations and recommend effective and radically transformative and affirmative action within the next 6 months. This Parliament will recall that early in my tenure, I engaged the leadership of both houses with recommendations on a working formula to actualize meaningful inclusion of women in national leadership.
Referring to the Gen Z-led demonstrations that shook the country a couple of months ago, the head of state says he will not allow any person to threaten the country's peace by organizing destructive demonstrations that threaten Kenya's stability.
It is only by following the law that we are able to achieve our aims and apportion accountability properly. It should not be possible for robbers and looters to escape accountability by claiming that they were taking part in a protest. Likewise, it should not be possible for security officers to wound, maim, or even kill citizens and claim that they were engaging violent criminals.
Ruto further took the chance to condemn cases of abductions and alleged disappearances, noting that his administration will not allow use of extrajudicial means to silence Kenyans, further directing the DCI and IPOA to fast-track their investigations and bring to book individuals involved in manhandling citizens.
I condemn any excessive or extrajudicial action which puts the life and liberty of any person at risk, including disappearances and threats to life. I urge all Kenyans with information about such cases to forward the information to the Directorate of Criminal Investigation and to IPOA, where they suspect members of the police service to be implicated.
With calls to have individuals abducted, released and femicide perpetrators brought to book, it is now a wait and see if the 26 people who are still missing after a series of arrests that followed the unprecedented Gen Z protest against what they termed as punitive taxes imposed by Ruto's regime will be released. For Newswatch, I'm Sammy Adika.
Well, now on matters education, President William Ruto has highlighted the strides his government has made in addressing challenges facing the education sector, noting that for the past 2 years, he has implemented critical structures that have revitalized the sector. Now, according to the head of state, most vulnerable students have access to higher education with up to 95% sponsorship from the government, further stating that he has pulled most universities from the brink of collapse by ensuring sufficient resource availability.
Honorable members, by 2022, the education sector was in a crisis with a lack of clarity in transition to the competence-based curriculum, a shortage of 110,000 teachers, and 23 out of 40 public universities were technically bankrupt and at risk of closure. Among those facing severe challenges were huge institutions, such as my own alma mater, University of Nairobi, Kenyatta University, Moi University, Egerton University, Maseno University, Masinde Muliro University. To address this issue in our education sector, we have already hired, as you know, members, 56,000 teachers, and are in the process of recruiting another 20,000 by January next year. We have also ensured the seamless transition of learners from primary to junior secondary and domiciled grades 7, 8, and 9 in primary school, optimizing the use of existing infrastructure, ensuring the safety of young learners, and protecting parents from the high costs associated with boarding schools far away. Recognizing the financial challenges faced by our universities and TVETs, we introduced a new student-centered higher education funding model. This model gives priority to the most vulnerable students, offering them up to 95% government support, while also pulling our universities back from the brink of collapse. The remaining challenges for a few universities, like Moi University, are related to internal administrative and governance issues, which I have given firm instructions that they should be addressed. To further enhance access to higher education, we launched the Open University of Kenya, and this House approved that exercise, paving the way for more students to achieve their academic goals. The institution's first cohort of students is scheduled to graduate next week on the 29th of November 2024.
Well, we shall be taking a short commercial break, but we'll be back to take a look on what President William Ruto says about his efforts to ensure that the economy is back on track, together with matters to do with health.
Coming soon. This November.
He's the God who raised up Moses in a palace only to use him in the wilderness, and raised up Joseph in the wilderness only to use him in a palace.
Young person, God is at work within your heart. What does it say? He is at work. It's Him who is at work in you.
If you are going to be successful in the service of God, it calls for sacrifice.
We get to appraise what God is doing, and by His invitation, partner with Him.
Come on, keep moving. He's inspiring you to challenge that which seems impossible.
What He would require of us is to declare, send me Lord, regardless of our background.
Only on Hope TV.
Rafiki soul is the promise of a hand that reaches and goes beyond what angaza tumaini kote. I'm forever grateful. Ninashukuru ukarimu, ukarimu. I'm forever grateful. Ninashukuru ukarimu, ukarimu. Rafiki soul is a promise of a hand that reaches matumaini kote. I'm forever grateful. Ninashukuru ukarimu, ukarimu. I'm forever grateful. Ninashukuru ukarimu, ukarimu. Rafiki mso.
Friends of Hope, keeping hope alive.
Well, welcome back to the broadcast right here at Hope TV. Now, President William Ruto has distanced himself from the blames against his administration on the tough economic times and high cost of living experienced by Kenyans from all walks of life. Now, speaking during his third State of the Nation address before the bicameral parliament at the National Assembly, the head of state highlighted that he had warned citizens that matters were going to get more difficult before they could get better, asserting that unforgiving conditions were inevitable.
While issuing the third State of the Nation address before the bicameral parliament pursuant to Article 132(1)(c) of the Constitution of Kenya, President William Ruto has openly distanced himself from blames directed to his administration on the tough economic times facing Kenyans, alluding to the fact that change is inevitable.
Matters were going to get more difficult before they could get better. And we all had to tighten our belts and work hard under very unforgiving conditions.
Additionally, the head of state complained to the fact that his administration assumed office at an extremely difficult time, as he underscored the progress made by his administration.
This administration was inaugurated at an extremely difficult time, characterized by domestic challenges, compounded by regional and global security, geopolitical, financial, as well as climate dynamics. As a result, in 2022, the country's total debt burden was not immense, but it was also stacked up in the most burdensome manner, leaving very little room for investments in public service or development of critical infrastructure. Is that while we may not be where we would like to be, we are certainly not where we were 2.25 years ago.
As this happens, the head of state took this opportunity to assure Kenyans that his administration has been working tirelessly to stabilize the economy.
We haven't been watching helplessly and doing nothing as adversity took a toll on the economy and undermined the livelihoods and well-being of the people. On the contrary, we have been working tirelessly to steer the country away from the brink of unprecedented economic collapse and onto a more promising trajectory.
President Ruto's remarks comes amidst growing discontent among Kenyans who have been struggling with the rising cost of living, as the head of state remains resolute in his belief that the country is on the right path and that the tough measures implemented by his government are necessary to restore the economy to a more stable footing. James Baraka for Hope TV Newswatch, Nairobi.
Now on matters health, in a State of the Nation address to both the Senate and the National Assembly, President William Ruto yet again defended the Social Health Insurance Fund SHIF, describing it as a reliable and inclusive healthcare service. Now the head of state further says that the new health authority aims to provide coverage for all Kenyans, especially the vulnerable and marginalized communities, promising that all October claims will be paid in full in a week's time.
Register now, or at the earliest possible opportunity. This modern framework ensures that every Kenyan, especially the most vulnerable, can access quality healthcare services when they need it most. The shift from the National Health Insurance Fund model to Taifa Care is fundamental and radical in both scale and character. NHIF, if I give you a bit of example, NHIF served a few salaried Kenyans and those who could afford to pay. But Taifa Care covers every Kenyan, regardless of employment or financial status. SHA will pay all October claims in full by next week. And it will continue like that going into the future. To date, over 15 million Kenyans have enrolled in Taifa Care, and more than 60% of employers have successfully transitioned into its framework. We have launched an ambitious healthcare program, one that Kenya has always needed and deserved. Like any major transition, there are challenges, but I promise you, we are fully committed to making the system work. As we roll out this program, we are listening to citizen voices and collaborating with counties to deliver better healthcare services. Through the Facility Improvement Fund, which you in this house passed, we will ensure that hospitals are equipped with the tools they need, medicine, equipment, and other resources necessary to provide quality care.
Well, away from national matters to devolved units, critical services in counties, including meeting of collective bargaining agreements, are said to be seriously hit with the loss of 13.5 billion Kenya shillings that had been allocated to counties in the division of revenue before the collapse of the 2024-2025 finance bill. Now, according to the Council of Governors chairperson under Wajir County Governor Ahmed Abdullahi, counties will struggle to meet key agreements, including the CBA it signed with doctors after 100 days of strike, noting that money meant for the exercise has been taken away. Now speaking when he addressed a press conference in Nairobi on the agreement between the Senate and the National Assembly on 387 billion Kenya shillings as the county's shareable revenue, Ahmed Abdullahi noted there would be a slow approach to development as counties will now take a serious hit from the reduction.
But on behalf of the Council of Governors, we want to register our disappointment with that figure of 387. Frankly, we knew that there was 4 possibilities, and we had, discussed this in our last meeting, extraordinary meeting. What if they agree at the figure of the National Assembly, or they agree? Our best of all worlds would have been to agree to a mediated position of 400. If we would have gotten an increase of 13.5 from last year.
Well, and in Machakos County, the government has turned to a door-to-door registration process of Kenyans for the Social Health Insurance Fund, SHIF, in a bid to increase the numbers of those onboarded to the new health scheme. Now, Public Health and Professional Standards Principal Secretary Mary Mudhoni says community health promoters will play a critical role in the registration across the country as it emerges that only 8 million Kenyans are only 8 million fresh registration of Kenyans were recorded as of Wednesday, that is the 20th of November, with only 6 million registration having been migrated from the defunct NHIF.
Barely 2 months after the government officially rolled out the new health plan, Public Health and Professional Standards Principal Secretary Mary Mudhoni arrives at Mbilini in Machakos County for a drive to have more Kenyans registered for the social health insurance plan.
Households, ensure you register your wife or your husband as a dependent. Ensure you register the children as your dependents. Do not register as an individual, but as per household.
The PS was accompanied by community health promoters who have been directed to move door to door as they onboard Kenyans to the new plan.
I'm calling upon all the CHPs across the country that we join hands. We are a people, we are a team, and we join hands. We move from door to door, just like we have always moved from door to door, checking blood pressure, blood sugar, ensuring we are reminding mothers and caregivers on how to take care of their children, to go for immunization, vaccination at the right time and the right doses.
As of 20th of November 2024, only 40 million Kenyans had been registered for SHA, out of which only 8 million are fresh registrations, as 6 million were migrated from the NHIF.
Ensure if you are to be assisted to register, then look for a community health promoter. You can be assisted at NHIF offices or any health facility where you have intellect and where you have staff who can assist you to register to the Social Health Authority.
While calling on Kenyans to register for SHA, PS Mary Muthoni says there are more benefits under the new health plan for all Kenyans as opposed to NHIF.
NHIF would cover only 20% of our Kenyan population. Right now, we are rolling out to enroll each and everybody, the 55 million people. We are not leaving anybody behind. This is a bottom-up approach.
During her tour at Muthoni, Bilini and Moyani in Machakos, the PS has called on families to prioritize the registration to enjoy the full benefit as the push by community health promoters will be spread countrywide. Dolly Mirigimbovi for Hope TV.
Well, now on matters of business, cooperatives and MSMEs, Cabinet Secretary Wycliffe Oparanya has received a comprehensive report from the Kenya Union of Savings and Credit Cooperatives Limited, KUSCO, Interim Board of Directors led by its chairman David Mategwa and Managing Director Arnold Munene. Now, this follows an inspection by the Commissioner for Cooperatives Development in 2023, which revealed serious fraudulent activities at the Kenya Union of Savings and Credit Cooperatives Limited, KUSCO. The Commissioner's report indicated huge loss of funds amounting to 5.5 billion Kenya shillings from highly suspect withdrawals from February 2013. The audit covering the union's operations and financial records will guide further action to ensure the principles of good governance and integrity are upheld across the cooperative movement in the country. Well, now on matter sports, the University of Eldoret has feted triple Olympic champion Faith Kipyegon with an honorary doctorate in education, recognizing her extraordinary contribution to athletics and her inspiring journey as a world-class track runner. The honorary doctorate was conferred to Kipyegon during the University of Eldoret's 13th graduation ceremony earlier on Thursday. The University of Eldoret termed Kipyegon as an accomplished middle and long distance runner and is the reigning 1,500 meter and mile record holder, with her most notable feat being the first athlete to become three-time Olympic champion, as she won 3 consecutive Olympics gold medals in 1,500 meters women race.
And that of the entire university gives power to read and do all that appertains to this degree. Congratulations.
And the highly anticipated match between long-time football rivals, that is Gor Mahia and AFC Leopard, popularly known as the Mashemeji Derby, has been officially postponed. The match, initially scheduled for Sunday, November 24th, 2024, will now take place on a later date to be announced. The postponement was confirmed by AFC Leopard, the designated home team for the fixture. Now, the decision stemmed from the unavailability of a suitable venue to host the game. Now, remember earlier, the Nyayo National Stadium had been earmarked as the venue for the derby. However, ongoing construction and renovation works at the stadium has rendered it unavailable. Nyayo Stadium is currently ongoing upgrades in preparation for the 2025 African Nations Champions, that is CHAN, which Kenya will co-host with Tanzania and Uganda in February 2025. Well, that's all for you tonight. My name is Sammy Adika, and our sign language interpreter has been Boniface Mureithi. Do have a lovely night. Goodbye.